Fat loss feels hard because you have cognitive biases that rule your life, and unfortunately, they unconsciously manipulate you. And these 3 biases that I'm going to share with you are the worst of them, and I'm going to share with you exactly how they pertain to losing fat and how you can actually change it into something more beneficial that actually makes losing fat easier. And this is coming from someone who used to be 20 kilos overweight. I hated myself, I hated life, I wasn't confident. And then I managed to lose all the weight, and I've been in good shape for nearly 5 years now. I've basically effortlessly maintained a good physique. And now for bias number 1, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's basically where beginners overestimate their own ability in a specific domain because they literally don't have the knowledge to fill in the gaps. They don't know what they don't know. It's basically where beginners who often overestimate their own ability in a chosen field or domain because they literally lack the knowledge to realize that there are gaps, and literally they don't know what they don't know. And it's a very annoying bias because even if we become aware of it, even if we understand how it works, we still very easily fall victim to it. So now I'm going to give you some examples backed by actual studies. So medical lab workers who rate themselves as highly competent at their job are often found to be the least competent. Or say in college or university, the lowest performing students have often been found to overestimate their grades by a large degree. Or people who have the unhealthiest lifestyle often regard their lifestyle as actually pretty decently healthy. They rate themselves as far healthier than they actually are. Also, people who perform very poorly on, those cognitive reasoning tests, the logic tests, people who perform poorly at those often think, what do you think? That they're a lot more intelligent than they really are. I personally have known people that think they're the shit and they know what they're talking about. When I was in the gym, I knew people that had been working out for years. They think they know everything about training just because they've been in the gym for years. And brother, they didn't even know what progressive overload was. Progressive overload is a basic, fundamental concept that proves that you know how to get stronger. It's the most basic concept you learn when building muscle, and they didn't understand that. Yet they still overestimated their competence. Most young men think they know exactly what to do to lose weight. Move more, eat less, and go gym. But their actual understanding of things that actually move the needle and having a deeper understanding, they don't know shit. Things like building deep habits, the psychological effects of literally everything, metabolic adaptation, and then actual calories, what's in the food, and how it's not just calories in, calories out, and how there's actual nuances to all of this. And what I mean by there are actual nuances to calories in, calories out works, yes, but some foods make you more satiated. Some foods promote changes in your body that make losing fat so much easier. And then some foods literally spike hormones that make fat loss much harder. How many people actually know how to control their emotions? Why they binge eat? Why they do all this shit? Why they have poor mental health? How many people actually know all this? And have a deep, fundamental understanding of it all? Yet they think they know exactly what to do to lose fat. Yes, you do on the surface, but how's that going to work if you don't actually have a good understanding of it? And then if you don't know that you don't know, you're fucked. Because you just think, you just have one lens, move more, eat less, go gym. Okay, let's only focus on that. When you just have your lens just laser focused on that, then of course you're going to struggle. Because you don't know what you don't know. And then they think they know enough, so they don't need to seek out new improvements or systems or build better long-term habits, because they think they and then they stay stuck. There's a good example of this in the gym. It's the gym goer that's been going for years and who hasn't actually made progress in years since their beginner newbie phase. Because they still have shit form, they're eating 3,000 fucking calories when they need to be eating 2,000, but they've made no progress because they have shit form. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even know what progressive overload is. They're unknowingly eating 3,000 calories when they think they're eating like 2,400. They have shit sleep, and their stress is just absolutely ruining their gains, and they don't even realize, oh, stress actually makes you lose muscle, and stress makes it harder to build muscle. But they don't put a focus on removing stress. Because again, you don't know what you don't know. Or the person who says, I don't need a coach or a program, I can do this all myself. Yet they yo-yo diet every few months and they end up making no progress. They go through standard cycles of bulking and cutting, and then they binge on the weekend, and then they end up making no progress. All because they have no standard fucking structure in their life. And it's like they don't know that they need structure. So they just keep going on. Also, I do have a Discord where you can join. I'll hop on a free call with you and I'll give you some direct actionable advice that will make you aware of what you're not aware of. Join my Discord and I'll personally help you out. Like, most guys are stuck because they think they've got it all figured out, but they don't. That's the trap of the Dunning-Kruger effect. You think fat loss is simple? But if it was, you wouldn't still be stuck spinning your wheels, would you? And the solution to beating the Dunning-Kruger effect is becoming more humble, realizing that you don't know everything, and trying to let go of like pre-existing beliefs. If someone's challenging your beliefs, or you receive new information that could potentially harm you, but like contradicts with what you currently think, be open to thinking in new ways. Because being dogmatic and just laser focused on one way of thinking is the worst way to live your life. And will appear in not just like fat loss having problems, but it will appear in all aspects of your life. If you're dogmatic about relationships, you're gonna fuck them up. If you're dogmatic about work and only trying to solve a problem from one specific angle, what is creative thinking? Approaching shit from multiple different angles. You need to think creatively. And then also, I want you to realize, if you notice yourself saying, oh, I'm really good in this field, or like that you think you're an expert, or that you deem yourself competent in a field, I want you to actually question that. Are you actually like knowledgeable? I can say surely that I am knowledgeable in the gym. I've been going to the gym for 5-6 years and I have spent hundreds of hours researching. I know I'm knowledgeable and I know that there is a bunch of shit I still don't know, but I know more than 99% of people. But then at chess, I'm clearly a beginner. I've played like a few 50 games probably, and I'm shit at it. And for the second bias, it is the anchoring effect. So when you receive new information, you often latch onto that first piece of information and then use that unconsciously in all future judgments relating to like that field. Like, the first thing you hear becomes your reference point, even if it's wrong. There's a very stupid example that I like. Imagine you're going to a car dealership and there's a car that you know is valued $30,000 and you're sold it for $20,000. You see and latch onto the initial $30,000, you get it sold for $20,000, and what do you think? Fuck, that's a pretty good deal. I'm saving 10K. I like that. But imagine, like, in the other direction. You know a car is worth $10,000 and now you're being sold it for $20,000. You latch onto the $10,000 and the $20,000 feels like shit. Why? Because you used the initial $10,000 as a reference point. Like, for fat loss specifically, you see fitness influencers doing like little 30-day challenges and they lose like 5-10 kilos of weight and make awesome transformations. And then now what happens? You unconsciously put that as a reference point for your own journey. And then when you don't make the same transformation, how do you feel about yourself? You feel like shit because you've used that as a reference point, and now in the back of your mind, you haven't lived up to that, and you just don't measure up to like your main reference point. Even if you don't consciously think, oh hey, I'm not measuring up to his progress, but subconsciously you still measure up to that first bit of information, even if you don't even realize you're doing it. Like, you often get your anchors, your reference points from other gym goers, fitness influencers, from bro science, from your friends, or most importantly, or most like, you get it from your past failures. So if now you're thinking or you're anchoring in like only chicken, broccoli, and rice works, or 1200 a day, 1200 calories a day is what I used to do and that worked. I lost a shit ton of weight when I did that. Or I need to lose 10 kilos in 30 days because that one fitness influencer did it. If your anchors are set like this, you're setting such high expectations that unrealistic, that unsustainable, or they're literally just wrong, and you can't do them. And then now these anchors set a unsustainable view, an unrealistic view of what fat loss actually is. And now when you use actual like science-based tactics for fat loss, you'll think, oh, it's too slow. And then you'll just give up because you haven't made enough progress. Even though what you're basing it on is fucking bullshit. But you haven't made enough progress. So I'm gonna give up. But first of all, to take over this, you need to build the thought process of going after delayed gratification instead of instant gratification. Because delayed gratification is the essence of achieving goals. It's getting the things that you want out of life. The hard things that matter the most will come from delayed gratification. If you give in to instant gratification, don't put in the time. What's instant gratification? It's things like porn, junk food, things that you can instantly do right now and get a reward from it. If you go play video games right now, you get dopamine from it. A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's guaranteed. So I'll give you another example. So there's a guy who wants to get in shape. He sees a fitness influencer who's eating 1800 calories and they're shredded, then they're in shape. And he now thinks, oh, if he's doing this, I'm going to copy him and do exactly that. But he doesn't take into account also what he doesn't know. He doesn't realize that copying that influencer is stupid. He's 6'1", fucking 90 kilos, whilst the influencer who's trying to copy, who's on 1800 calories, is fucking like what, 5'6", 70 kilos? Imagine a 6'1", 90 kilo big dude copying the diet of a 5'6", 70 kilo shredded guy. There's going to be a big difference in what one person eats and then the other person should eat, isn't there? Like, you need to have your expectations actually based on facts, not fantasy, to be honest. Real fat loss is unfortunately boring, consistent, steady, long-term work that takes ages. But your brain is often working and comparing itself to these shit reference points, and now you think to yourself, my fat loss isn't working. I'm not capable of fat loss. This isn't working. I'm done. I'm giving up. Just because you're using the wrong reference point. So to solve this, I want you to ask yourself, if you ever find yourself like feeling insecure, you're comparing yourself to other people. So you're on social media, you see this fucking shredded guy, and you feel like insecurity welling up. I want you to ask this question. If you're ever feeling insecure, inadequate, or you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, ask, am I currently feeling inadequate because of an inaccurate reference point? Have I anchored onto some bullshit anchor? Because you often find that there is a reference point that you're judging and comparing yourself to that just isn't reality. And then I want you to create an if-then situation in your mind. You know, programming, if blah blah blah, then the code activates. I want you to create an if-then. So if you feel inaccurate, if you feel inadequate, then you'll instantly question, what am I basing this on? If you feel insecure, what am I basing it on? Or am I basing this on an inaccurate reference point? And doing this will help alleviate some of the negatives that anchoring does have. And now for the third and final bias, it's the availability bias. So When making judgments or decisions, we will make decisions based on how readily that information actually comes to mind, especially if the event is like something that's constantly happened or it's very emotionally charged. Imagine you sit down to watch the news, and on the news there's been a bunch of terrorist attacks. Now, since it's been emotionally ingrained into you, or imagine you see it constantly over and over again, back to back days, you're going to think that terrorist attacks are happening all the time because you're being made more aware of this information. And now, plus, it's making you emotional. Combine that, and when you're out and about, you're going to play that into the back of your mind and realize, oh, hey, I might be involved in a terrorist attack. I need to do something in order to avoid it. I need to be careful. I need to have my escape planned. Like in the fitness niche, we're surrounded by so many examples of this. Viral fitness reels, shredded physique, massive transformations, and because those examples are easily available in your own mind, your brain just naturally thinks, oh, everyone's getting shredded easy, or transformations are fucking easy, everyone's doing it. It takes 30 days and you can make a massive transformation. And that everyone is succeeding at fat loss, just not you. You're unique, you're the one that's not succeeding. You're failing. Everyone else is succeeding. Because you can easily call up in your own memory a bunch of times where people are succeeding. And as a result, you ignore the boring, consistent work that is what 99% of fat loss is, because your brain's been hijacked by a few specific examples, a few unrealistic, like hyper examples. Like imagine seeing a guy go from fat to shredded in 60 days. Now you're going to make say you've lost 5 kilos in a few months. Even though that's good, that's great progress. You're just going to call that transformation up because it's easily accessible, and now judge it compared to your effort. It's like using it as a reference point as well. It's combining with anchoring effect now as well. Or you remember having one perfect week where you had an awesome diet, worked out consistently, and then that was 10 weeks ago. Or you hear one story about someone who managed to get in shape without tracking their calories, and now you think, okay, tracking calories is stupid. And now you spend your time spinning your wheels because you don't know what's working. What your brain does, it remembers the outliers and it just forgets what's actually needed to be done. That's what the availability bias is. Because most of fat loss is invisible. We don't really see it. It's the work that goes on behind the scenes. It's the 99% of the time. While you only see what's on the surface on fucking things like social media. It's the 1 second hooks that thinks that their life is amazing when it deep down just isn't. And then for solving this one, it's literally the exact same solution as step 2. If you just implement when I told you if then, if you feel inadequate, if you feel insecure, then just question, what am I basing this on? Why am I feeling like this? What's my reference point? Am I judging this on a few easily remembered situations? Literally, if you feel insecure, ruthlessly question why. At the end of the day, that's probably the best thing you can do for defeating a bunch of the biases. But yeah, anyway, that is the video. I appreciate you watching and staying this long. Make sure to like and subscribe, helps me out a lot. And yeah.